The Consumer Price Index, CPI, report is a valuable tool used to measure the changing cost of living over time. Different demographic groups can be impacted differently by changes in the cost of living, so the CPI can be used to track how their buying power changes. Low-income households often experience the most significant impact, as their budget for groceries, housing, and other necessities is very tight. If prices rise quickly, they may not have the resources to cover the difference and are at risk of being unable to provide for their families. High-income households, on the other hand, have more resources to absorb cost increases over time and may be more resilient to changing CPI levels. The elderly are particularly vulnerable to changes in the CPI, as their fixed incomes combined with medical and prescription drug costs may make it difficult to keep up with changes in the cost of living. Similarly, people with chronic health conditions may not be able to afford necessary medications if prices rise too quickly, potentially putting their health at risk. Working families trying to balance individual and family needs can face challenges if there is an unexpected rise in the CPI and a resulting increase in the cost of goods and services they need. Discrimination based on race, gender, or ethnicity can also be a factor in determining how individuals are impacted by the CPI. If certain demographic groups experience disproportionate increases in unaffordable housing or lack of access to medical care, they may find it difficult to keep up with expense increases. Those living in rural areas may also be adversely affected due to the lack of access to services, goods, and health care that could soften the blow of changes in the CPI. Small businesses may also be affected, as their incomes often depend on the buying power of members of the community and the price of goods. Therefore, any changes in the CPI can threaten their viability in the long term, especially if they are not able to adjust costs quickly enough. Education is important to consider when thinking about the impact of CPI reports, as college costs have been increasing faster than the rate of inflation for many years. This can make it difficult for families to save for higher education and can prevent some people from obtaining degrees. Younger demographic groups, such as those just starting out in the job market, may also feel the strain of rising living expenses more keenly. Innately, this group already has less disposable income and may feel the full brunt of changes in the CPI. Low-wage workers, such as those in the fast food and retail industries, may find it difficult to keep up with the rising cost of living as their wages may not match the rising cost of necessities. Individuals with disabilities may also struggle to keep up with cost changes, as higher costs for essential items and services needed may put them in a financially precarious situation. For single parents, rising living costs can be a struggle, especially when they are the sole providers for their families. Changes in the CPI may have a heightened impact on immigrant families, who may not have the resources to absorb price increases and may struggle more to make ends meet. The cost of living for veterans and military personnel can also be significantly affected by CPI increases, as they may not have certain benefits that allow them to mitigate the cost. Many of these demographic groups may be pushed to further desperation if the cost of living rises faster than their incomes, leaving them in a difficult and even dangerous situation. Low-wage workers, especially those from minority communities, can be particularly hard hit by changing CPI, leading to declines in their incomes, health, and quality of life overall. As the cost of living increases, those living in poverty can be particularly burdened, as their already limited savings can be quickly depleted in order to cover necessary items and services.